What's going on, everybody? It's Jake from Visionary Kickz, and today I'm working with Angelus brand, and we're going to be painting these Adidas Pro Models. In today's project, we're going to be doing an Area 51 theme on these Adidas, and I'm going to be showing you guys a little airbrush technique that I picked up, and I'm also going to be using some stencils throughout the video. So since this is a leather upper, the first thing you want to do is use some leather prepper and Deglazer. You're going to take off the factory finish, and your paint will adhere to it a lot better. Alright, so now once this is completely prepped, I like to go over it 1 or 2 times just so I know for sure it's ready to go. On the areas right here that's going to start to crease, I like to take my time a little bit just so that we know that in this part the paint is going to stick and it's not going to crack when you start walking. So before I actually put the tape on, after I acetone, I like to use a heat gun just to kind of dry up the acetone so that the tape will stick a lot better. So for this step here, I'm going to be using the new Angelus detail knife, and it comes in a package like this with some extra blades too, so once your blade goes dull, they got you covered. You're just going to be very careful because this is super sharp. I'm also going to be covering the toe cap here because this is a rubber, so we don't really recommend painting that. So now that the shoe is completely taped, here I'm going to be adding an alien to it, and the alien we got from the arcade game by Atari, Area 51. And what I have here is a black and white version and a colored version. I'm going to use this as a reference while I paint, and then I'm going to be using this black and white to put it on here as acting like a stencil. And I'm going to be using, again, the detail knife. And I'm just going to be cutting around it, placing it, and drawing it out. And then that way, if you guys are not able to draw, because some people might not be, but they want to do customs like this is probably the easiest and best way to get the exact design onto the shoe, even if you don't know how to draw. I'm going to be doing it on this brand new Angelus cutting mat. It'll protect your furniture from this sharp blade. Just be careful. Like I said, this is sharp. The first thing I like to do is just kind of like you're tracing it with a pencil, but you just use an X-Acto knife. So now that I have the cut out here, I'm going to be using it kind of like a stencil, just so it sticks a little bit better. I like to put a little piece of tape on the back side, and then we're just going to place it where we think it fits best. And now I'm just going to use a pencil and trace them. And you're going to have to obviously do like the more detail work outside of that, but this is kind of just a little template so you know exactly where it's going to go and what you need to add to it. So now that we have the body part, we're going to be adding the details as the eyes and this piece on the top of his head. So this part is probably the most tedious part, but it's what's going to help you draw it out. You're going to have to cut out piece by piece in order to get the drawing in. And now you're just gonna wanna line up your drawing and then trace this part now here. This is basically just like a stencil or a little template to help you draw this out better. So now we finished the template of the alien here. I know it doesn't look exactly like this, but that's because the paint isn't on there. But as you can tell, you can see where the head is, the eyes, the headpiece, and then his hands. So then later on in the video, you're gonna see me actually painting that with more detail. But now what I'm gonna do, since we have this, I'm gonna use the tape again, gonna place it over it, and I'm gonna just cut around it so that I can airbrush the background. Now that the character is all covered, we're gonna start painting the background, and with that we're gonna be doing the airbrush. So for the first color, we're gonna be using a pink background. I'm gonna mix these 4 colors here: the lilac, the hot pink, flat white, and the raspberry. First, I like to mix this up, and then I'll add some white if I need to go a little bit lighter. So I'm gonna go with this color here. It's not similar to this picture here. These colors are like super dark. So I'm just going with this interpretation of the pink that I wanna go with. I like this color and I think it's gonna be a good mix with the green. So now that I have my mixture here, in order for it to go through the airbrush, you're gonna use some too thin so that the paint thins and it allows to flow better through the airbrush. So now that I have my mix here ready for the airbrush, I'm gonna be using these 2 stencil pieces that I have here. I have a stencil cutter, so I was able to like cut like a cloud piece. But if you don't have something like this, just get your X-Acto knife and kind of just make like little squiggles. And I'm just gonna use it throughout the shoe to form some clouds. And then I'm gonna be changing the colors to give it the more depth of field. And I also have another one just so that the texture is like different throughout the shoe, not just the same pattern. But this is really random. You're just gonna place it all over the shoe and then mix the colors with it later. So now that I finished using the pink, I'm gonna be switching colors. I'm gonna go into an orange color to clean out the airbrush. I'm gonna be using the new Angelus brush cleaner. And I kind of like just mixing it around just so it could get in there and then just spray it out. Now that we did the pink part, I'm gonna be mixing the orange and the pale yellow. And then we're also gonna just do the same steps, mixing it with the too thin and then putting it through the filter. The pink was kind of just random, but now as I add the orange, I'm going in between the pink and the white areas, just kind of getting a little mix and making the orange pop out by itself. So now I'm gonna be doing the same process. Gonna be using the Angelus brush cleaner to clean out my airbrush. And then I'm gonna go in with the yellow. And for the yellow, I mixed the yellow and also the pale yellow. Now I'm using the yellow and I'm going over the whole shoe as I'm spraying it so that the colors can come together. Now I finished doing the yellow. Now I'm gonna go in with the orange fade. I'm gonna start the orange here and work my way to a pink and on both sides. So here for the fade, I like going darker to light, and then in the middle part, it's gonna hit with the pink. Towards the middle, when I do the fade, I like to kind of pull my brush back so that it's not so deep right there. Now that I have the fade going, I go back in with the pink on the pink area or the pink side. And I'm just gonna use the same pink color and just kind of hit it harder so that it pops a little bit more on both sides. I'm gonna do the same process with the orange. So now that the airbrush part is done, I'm gonna remove this tape here on the alien and then begin to paint them. Now on the alien part here, I'm gonna start mixing colors to get the color I want for the alien. So with this green here, it's basically just the regular green. I'm just using it as a base coat. And then I'm gonna do another layer on top of it, and then I'll start adding my mixes after that. So for this part here and the details, I'm using the angular brush from Angelus and the 0 point. So with the first coat, the paint might look like it has a lot of brush stroke, which is fine. The lighter the coats, the better, and then you'll build from there. With the more coats you put on, the strokes will start going away. So now that I finished the base coat of the green, I did about 5 layers. I'm gonna use some white paint and just draw out the details. So now that I got most of the details, I'm gonna go in with the black parts and get even like the shadows on the face and throughout the body. And for that, I'm gonna be using a midnight green and also some flat black. I'm gonna mix it to try to find the right color. So now that the alien's all done, highlights and shadows, I'm gonna be using some stencils that I created. So the way I do it, instead of using transferred paper, I just use a piece of tape. So the machine I actually used to create these stencils, I got it from Michael's, the Silhouette Cameo. And then they also sell vinyl sheets from Oracle. So if you guys want them and want to make your own stencils, make sure to check out Michael's. Let them know that Visionary Kickz sent you. Okay, so now when I'm gonna airbrush with the stencils like this, apply light coats, don't spray too hard. So now that we got the stencils done, now we got the alien done and the background, the last thing to do is paint these back to black. So for this step here, I'm gonna use a flat brush from Angelus, the number 6. And I'm just gonna freehand it right here. So now that the shoe is finally done, the only thing I need to do now is add some finisher. I'm gonna be using some matte finish and a couple drops of Duller. So with a couple drops of Duller, it'll give the matte finish a flatter look. You're just gonna wanna do some nice even coats throughout the shoe. So there you guys have it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys want to see more of my work, check me out on Instagram and on YouTube at Visionary Kickz. Until next time, peace.